It's long past time that I cleared out this room. Oh, all this dust. I should have done it ages ago. Still, I suppose I've always hoped he would come back. Silly, really.
Mom.
What was that? It sounded like... Mary, you're hearing voices.
Mom.
James, is that you?
Mom, help me.
Where are you?
I don't know. I'm trapped.
Trapped where? James? Speak to me, James. I couldn't bear to lose you a second time.
In science, one reasons by analogy. So when mankind is confronted by experiences entirely beyond his understanding, it takes an individual with intelligence and bravery in equal measure to push back the boundaries of the unknown. In London, in 1900, the solution to supernatural occurrences were investigated by a man who was famous for his dealings with the unknown and the worlds of the dead. Jerrem Lee, Ghost Hunter. Jerrem Lee, Ghost Hunter, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and David Alley as Arthur Bennett. Tonight's episode, The Disappearance of James Jephcott.
My name is Arthur Bennett. I recall it was on the 22nd June when we first met the tragic figure of Mary Jephcott. I had decided to visit my friend Jerrem Lee at his lodgings in Half Moon Street, London. These also acted as his consulting rooms where clients brought him cases relating to the strange and supernatural. On the morning in question, Lee was finishing his breakfast off with a cup of sweet coffee while staring out of the window. What are you looking at, Lee?
I was just admiring the lady descending from that handsome carriage. She has a certain poise, does she not?
In what way?
Don't you feel that she carries herself with an air of sadness born with quiet resolve?
I see what you mean.
Of course, she spent much of her life in America, but has been in England for a year or more.
How can you tell that?
The bag she carries, made from rawhide. It's rather old, but now cherished. I dare say she's had difficulty trying to replace it here in England, where the ladies prefer smaller handbags.
But how do you know that she has been here for a while?
Her hat. It was the fashion in London last year, I fancy. So she can hardly have just arrived in England.
It looks like we're about to learn more about her. She's approaching your door. Do you have an appointment?
No. Nevertheless, I think we should try our best to assist her all the same. Would you mind showing her in? My housekeeper is out this morning.
You'd better get those newspapers off the floor first.
I seem to recall it was you who put them there. There, that would have to do. Come in.
A Mrs. Mary Jephcott to see you.
Come in and do take a seat.
Thank you. You are Mr. Jerrem Lee, are you not?
I am indeed.
I've heard that you investigate...
Unusual occurrences?
Yes, that's right.
Along with my colleague, Arthur Bennett here.
Please tell us, how may we help?
It's hard to explain. In short, I haven't seen my son in over a year and a half.
Then surely this is more of a matter for the police, not for us.
I agree with Bennett. I am not and would never claim to be a substitute for the constabulary.
You don't understand. I said I had not seen James, but I believe I have heard him now.
Go on.
Mr. Lee, I am not one of those silly women prone to hearing voices at the drop of a hat, nor am I naive enough to fall prey to fraudulent mediums promising to make contact with departed loved ones through a series of coughs and knocks.
Then, what exactly has happened?
I don't know where to start.
Perhaps you could tell us why you returned to England.
But how did you know I lived abroad?
It's not important. Pray continue.
It was the beginning of it all, I suppose. Though he was American by birth, I met my husband Charles in London some 15 years ago, whilst he was over visiting relatives. Do you believe in love at first sight? Oh, perhaps you don't think about such matters. Suffice to say, things took their course, and he asked me to marry him and return to Boston with him.
It must have been quite an adventure for you.
It was, and we were very happy together, happier still when our son James was born, but it wasn't to last. Charles, who was a writer on the Boston Mirror, was killed 4 years ago whilst reporting out west. After that, I decided to return to England. Despite being away for such a long time, I found I longed once more for the comfort of the familiar places of my youth.
Understandable after such a loss.
So it was that I bought a house in a village near to where I was born,
Being
Hartley on the Sussex Down.
A most picturesque part of the world.
At first it was a wrench for James, who had to learn to make new friends again, but we soon settled into the quiet way of country life. That was until a little over 2 years ago now.
Well, you've set the scene admirably. Now, perhaps you could tell us how it was that your son disappeared.
There isn't much to tell. It was on a typical morning. I remember James at the kitchen table having his breakfast. James, have you finished yet?
Nearly, Mom.
Come on, it's only 5 days to go before Christmas, and you don't want to be late for school on the last day of term.
There, all done.
Good. Now here's your school bag. I've put some sandwiches inside for you.
Thanks.
Come on now, you'd better be off.
I've just got to go upstairs to my bedroom a moment. There's something I've got to go and get.
What is it that's so important to make you late for school?
It's just something I promised to show my friends. That's all.
Well, be quick.
I will.
That boy, he's always late for everything, just like his father. Come on, James, time to go. Where is that boy? James, don't make me come up there and get you. James? When I went up to his room, he was gone, Mr. Lee.
And there was no sign of how he could have left the house.
None. His windows were shut, and if he'd returned downstairs, I would have seen him.
What did the local police make of it?
They treated it seriously at first, and there was a great hue and cry about the village. But over time, that died down. People began to say that James was homesick and had returned to America. Others said that my husband hadn't died at all and had sent for him.
People can be unkind in small communities.
Yes, they can, Mr. Bennett, but I've learned to live with it.
That all happened some time ago, yet you said that you've heard from your son since.
When James disappeared, I didn't know what to do, so I left his room exactly how it was. I suppose it was in the hope that he would return someday. A foolish whim, I know.
But an understandable one.
Yesterday I decided it was finally time to clear his things out. It was then, when I entered his room, that I heard him. He sounded very distant. At first I thought it might be my imagination.
And what did he say?
He was calling for help. He said he was trapped.
Did you try to locate the source of his voice?
I couldn't tell. He only said a couple of sentences. I'm afraid there's little more to add, only I'm positive that it was really James, and that he is somewhere in need of assistance.
There is one more question. Has anyone else been in the room since his disappearance?
I used to have a girl to help me keep the house. She left about 6 months after James disappeared. She's the daughter of the local publican.
And is this public house a place where we can stay whilst we make our inquiries?
Yes, I believe they have rooms at the White Swan.
Then we shall collect our things and travel down to Hartley shortly. We'll be in touch when we arrive.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Lee, and you too, Mr. Bennett.
Thank us when we've discovered something meaningful, not before.
Evening, gentlemen.
And a good evening to you. I understand you have rooms for guests.
Yes, we do. I could have a couple made up for you now, if you like.
That would be most satisfactory.
From London, are you?
We've just come down for a sport of fishing.
You're not likely to catch much round here.
Still, the country air will do us good.
Not to mention some good country ale.
You'd like a couple of flagons, then?
Yes, and have one yourself.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Alfred's my name. Just let me know if you need anything.
Well, there is something. It's rather a hobby of mine to collect local legends, you know, about ghosts and the like.
Well, there's plenty round here.
Oh?
Perhaps you'd like to hear about old Jack the Highwayman. They say he still haunts the roads hereabouts.
Well, I have more of a more specific interest than that, in unusual disappearances, to be precise.
Let me see now. We did have a curious incident a little while ago.
Really?
It was Mrs. Jephcott's son, James. I know all about it because our Bessie used to work for her.
This sounds most interesting, doesn't it, Bennett?
Yes, indeed.
Well, they say that this boy just vanished one day while he was getting ready for school. Just vanished, and no one's seen eye nor hair of him since.
You don't say?
But that's not the strange part.
Oh?
It was about 6 months later when my Bessie says she went into his room to tidy up, when she swears she heard him.
Who?
The missing boy, that's who.
Has there been any attempt to explain the disappearance?
Bessie said that Miss Jephcott's a witch and she casts a spell on her boy so he haunts the room. Still, I dare say there's a normal explanation behind it all.
Yes, no doubt.
Well, gentlemen, I'd better get someone to go see to your rooms if you're to stay here tonight.
Thank you, Alfred.
Really, Lee? Mrs. Jephcott a witch? Have you ever heard such superstitious nonsense?
But sometimes such tales hold a grain of truth.
Then you think that this boy could genuinely be haunting the room, then?
We will know more about that when we visit Mrs. Jephcott tomorrow.
Mr. Lee and Mr. Bennett, you've come.
As promised.
Perhaps I could put these things down somewhere.
Yes, of course. Do come in.
Bennett thought it would be less suspicious if we pretended to be doing a spot of fishing.
You can put your rods over there if it's convenient.
Thank you. I don't think I could ever take up a sport that requires so much equipment.
When you're done, Bennett, I think we'll start with an examination of the boy's room.
It's at the top of the stairs, on the right.
Thank you. You're coming, Bennett?
Yes, I'm ready. This must be the room.
Wait a moment. We must ensure we have protected ourselves first. Do you still carry the silver pentagram I gave you?
Yes, it's over my heart.
It should protect you against necromante and other spirits of the dead. Here, let me tie these small bags of herbs around your wrists and ankles. They offer some resistance against the astrolate and other worldly monstrosities from the other place. Now, let's see what is to be found inside.
It seems like a typical schoolboy's room to me. Do you sense anything unusual?
No, but I never claimed to be sensitive to spirits.
Then what are we looking for?
I don't know yet. Something out of the ordinary, perhaps. Let us start by taking Mrs. Jephcott's story at face value. Describe it to me once more.
If I remember correctly, her son was late for school, wasn't he?
Yes.
He had a hurried breakfast and was about to leave when he told his mother that he'd forgotten something.
Go on.
So he came upstairs and returned to this room.
He'd forgotten something. I wonder what.
Something to show his friends, she said. When I was a lad, I used to collect all manner of knickknacks, from lead soldiers to cigarette cards.
And where did you keep these bits and pieces of yours?
In a shoebox under my bed. You don't suppose...
Why don't you take a look?
I don't believe it. He has a box too.
It seems that boys are the same the world over.
Let me get it out.
So what's inside?
All manner of things. Let's see now. A piece of string, a compass, a penknife. I say, what this?
Let me have a look. It's a headband with a feather in it.
I wonder what those strange symbols on the side are.
They are quite unknown to me. Let's see this one here.
Yes.
Looks like a rising sun, does it not?
Shall we ask Miss Jephcott about it?
Yes, but before we do, could you pass me the boy's compass?
Here.
Thank you. Well, I think we've learnt all we can here. Let's see Mrs. Jephcott once more.
Did you find anything?
Tell me, do you recognize this?
Why, I haven't seen that in years. I'd almost forgotten about it.
Where did you get it?
It was in my husband's effects when he died. It was returned to us along with his other things. I gave it to James to remember him by.
You said he spent much of his time out west. Did he have many dealings with the Indians there?
He might have done, I suppose. I remember now. On the morning James disappeared, I found this on the floor of his room. Bessie, the girl help I had, must have put it away with his other things. So, Mr. Lee, do you have any ideas?
Nothing definite as present. Before we depart, would you mind if I take this headband with me?
No, of course not.
Then we shall take our leave of you.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
is there any hope?
There's always hope, Mrs. Jephcott. No matter how small.
Lee, are you in?
My dear Bennett, good to see you. How are you faring?
As well as I have ever been. And what about you? Are you looking forward to the festive season?
I must confess I'm not one for overly celebrating Christmas.
Oh, nonsense. You should come down to see my sister with me. They'll be having a fine goose and they have a cellar which is the best in the county.
Before we think about Christmas, I have a visit to pay.
Oh?
You recall that business with Mrs. Jephcott down in Hartley?
Her disappearing son, wasn't it? But it must have been over 6 months ago now when she came to see us.
Just under, in fact.
I thought you had forgotten about her.
Not forgotten, just waiting for the right time to act.
What do you mean?
You remember that business I encountered on the Isle of Iona some time ago?
Those sun worshippers up in Scotland.
Do you recall the dates of their secret ceremonies?
On the longest and shortest days of the year.
Yes, the summer and winter solstices, or the 21st of June and the 21st of December, to be precise.
Well, what of it?
Do you recall when the boy disappeared?
A couple of days before Christmas.
We were told 5 days before.
On the winter solstice.
And when did Mrs. Jephcott hear her son again?
Well, it was around midsummer, wasn't it?
She called on the 22nd June, the day after she'd heard him.
On the girl who cleaned the room. Also, she heard the boy. Do you think that was on the summer solstice, too?
Indeed I do.
So the boy disappeared on the winter solstice and has only been heard since on the summer solstice. This isn't a coincidence, then.
No, I think not.
And what of the headband we found? Have you discovered anything about that?
Precious little, I'm afraid. It's from one of the Indian tribes of the Great Plains, I'm certain of that, but which one I've been unable to determine.
I remember there was a symbol on the headband. Do they worship the sun?
Most famously through the sun dance, which is led by their shaman or spiritual leader of the tribe. I understand that each tribe has its own distinct rituals and methods of performing the dance, but there are common features which pertain to most of them.
Such as?
Wild dancing, frantic drumming to induce visions. In some cases, the piercing of the chest or back is performed.
Why ever would they do that?
It's a form of direct connection to their great spirit. Through the dance, they communicate with him.
I see.
And that's not all. You remember the boy had a compass with his effects?
Yes.
When we were there, I used it to check the orientation of his room. It faces east.
Meaning?
I believe something happened to the boy when the first rays of the dawn sun struck him on the winter solstice. He must have been wearing the headband at the time.
Then where has the boy disappeared to?
They are the facts as I have them. I can tell you no more at this stage. Now, I've arranged to return to Hartley tomorrow, it being the 19th today. Do you wish to join me?
Lee, I wouldn't miss it for all the tea in China.
Mr. Lee, I must admit, I was more than a little surprised to receive your letter. Does it mean that you finally have an idea about what happened to James?
I have several theories, but nothing definite.
Then what do you propose to do?
Bennett and I will stay here tonight. You have arranged to stay elsewhere, as I requested.
Yes, I shall stay with friends up in London.
Good. Then Bennett and I shall prepare ourselves in James's bedroom. We have much to arrange before the sun sets.
What do you have in mind?
If the boy is able to make contact with us, we must find some means of holding his spirit here when he returns.
You mean a pentagram?
It should also serve to protect us from any malevolent forces, if they arise.
Then let us get started.
It's not as simple as that. There have been similar disappearances documented before, most notably by that great explorer and recorder of magic from the ancient times, Abra Milin the Mage. He states quite categorically, "If thy seeketh to return unto you one who is lost to higher realms, thy must createth certain conditions which reflecteth where he be hidden."
What does that mean?
In order for James to return, we must help him by making a gateway, a kind of halfway house, if you like, from this world to where he is now.
Just how do you propose to do that?
Open my bag and I'll show you. I have here a jar of earth. Unfasten the lid and scatter it around the room.
I take it this is no ordinary soil.
Indeed not. I had it shipped specially from the Great Plains.
Did no one question such an order?
My dealers know me well enough now not to question such things. And to mark out the 5-sided star of the pentagram into the soil, we will use this stone, also shipped from America. Finally, we must link each point of the star with a circle of charcoal from a fire burnt on the soil of the plains. Good. Now, place the Indian headband in the center of the circle.
Just here.
That's right. Now, all we have to do is wait. Wake up, Bennett. I said wake up.
Oh, did I fall asleep? What's the time?
10 minutes to 8.
Then nothing happened all night.
Neither did I expect it to. Remember, it was early morning when the boy disappeared.
Then we shouldn't have long to wait.
The sky is beginning to brighten in the east. Can you hear something?
Sounds like drums.
Indian drums.
By Jove! The headband is rising up on its own free will. There's something is forming beneath it. A boy! And he's in school uniform.
Mom, are you there?
James Jephcott, is that you?
Who's that?
My name is Jerrem Lee. I'm here to help you.
I'm trapped. I can't come back.
Where are you?
I'm with the ghosts of Indians. They're singing and dancing.
Do you think they're performing a sun dance?
The Indians have another dance known as the ghost dance for communicating with the spirits of the dead. Perhaps that is the sound we can hear.
Please, help me.
James, I want you to do something for me. I want you to try and remove the headband you are wearing.
I can't. My fingers pass right through it.
I think somehow the headband is in this plane of existence, but the wearer has been transported elsewhere. We must try and link the two once more.
But how?
Someone must enter the pentagram and attempt to remove the headband from the boy.
Then let me try.
No! There is always a chance that you will be drawn into the world where the boy now resides.
I'm prepared to risk it. You must stay on the outside and instruct us.
Then you must remove the silver pentagram and herbs round your ankles and wrists.
Here, you look after them.
Bennett, you must understand. When you enter that pentagram, there will be little I can do for you if anything goes wrong.
We must try to help him, Lee.
Then enter the pentagram of your own free will.
Very well.
Now, try and reach out and hold the headband. Can you feel it?
Yes, but it feels strangely intangible.
You must try to concentrate on it.
I'm trying!
James, can you still hear me?
Yes.
I want you to try and lift the headband from your head once more. Bennett will assist you.
I'll give it a go. I can feel something now. It's like it's there, but it's not.
Concentrate on my voice. Bennett, you do the same. Now both of you, use all your will to remove the headband.
It won't move!
Try, Bennett. Try with all your strength. You too, James. Bennett, are you all right?
Yes, I think so.
Rest a little. You've been subjected to a violent shock. And you, James, can you hear me?
Am I back? I mean, with the living people?
Yes, you're back, and I can assure you I am most definitely alive.
Thank goodness for that.
Here's a cup of good strong tea to go with your ham and eggs.
I'm famished.
I've never known a boy of your age not to be hungry.
And you still haven't told us what happened.
I remember going upstairs to get the headband. I told some of the boys at school about it, and I promised to bring it in to show them. When I got it out of the box, I don't know why, but I decided to try it on. You know, just to see what it was like. I remember looking out of my window, and the sun started coming up over the hills. Everything went quiet, and then I heard the sound of drumming.
What was it like? I mean, on the other side.
There was a fire, and Indian men dancing and chanting around it. It was awful. I felt so alone.
Mr. Lee, are you there?
Come in, Miss Jephcott. There's someone here to see you.
Mom?
James, it can't be. Is that really you?
Yes, it's me, Mom.
Oh, thank heavens you're home.
I missed you so much.
I missed you too. Mr. Lee, and you, Mr. Bennett. I don't know how to thank you.
Really, there's no need.
No, I have some money set aside. You must tell me what your commission is.
I never accept payment for my cases. However, there is something.
Just name it.
The Indian headband. I should like to take it with me.
Well, it's rightfully James's now.
Please take it. I never want to see that thing again.
Then we shall bid you good day.
Yes, and happy Christmas to you both. All's well that ends well, eh, Lee?
This time, yes.
What is it? You've been more than a little melancholy all journey. Surely this is an occasion to celebrate.
It's just the risks we take.
What do you mean?
When you entered the pentagram, you began to fade, Bennett. By the time you removed the headband, you were barely visible.
I don't understand.
You were passing over to the other side.
I didn't realize.
Is it right that I put you in harm's way?
I don't believe for 1 minute you would ever turn your back on someone like Mrs. Jephcott if there was anything you could do to help them. And I feel just the same. Some risks are worth the taking, are they not?
You're right, of course.
Well then, let us turn our thoughts to Christmas and the New Year. You'll stay with my sister for the festivities?
Believe me, there's nothing more I'd like than a short holiday.
Then it's settled. And I promise you the finest Christmas ever.
You have been listening to Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter, and tonight's episode, The Disappearance of James Jephcott, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and David Alley as Arthur Bennett. Featured were Donna Evans as Mary Jephcott, Anastas Varinos as James Jephcott, and Lucian E.G. Spellman as Alfred. Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter was created and written by Gareth Tilley, and produced by M.J. Cogburn. The executive producer was Mark Vanderberg, and the program was directed by Jerry Robbins, with music by Jeffrey Gage. Additional music by Kevin MacLeod. For the Colonial Radio Theatre on the Air, this is David Alt speaking.
Wake up, Oscar!
What is it?
It's Ruth. She's awake again.
I'll go to her.
No, Oscar. This has to stop. Whatever is haunting our home must be removed once and for all.
What do you expect me to do? Call a local priest for an exorcism?
I don't care what you do, but tomorrow I will be taking Ruth away with me, and we won't be returning until Crabtree Cottage is free of evil once more.
In science, one reasons by analogy. So when mankind is confronted by experiences entirely beyond his understanding, it takes an individual with intelligence and bravery in equal measure to push back the boundaries of the unknown. In London, in 1900, the solution to supernatural occurrences were investigated by a man who was famous for his dealings with the unknown and the worlds of the dead. Jerrem Lee, Ghost Hunter. Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and David Alley as Arthur Bennett. Tonight's episode, The Terror of Crabtree Cottage.
My name is Arthur Bennett, colleague of that renowned investigator of the strange and supernatural, Jerrem Lee. My friend found as his notoriety grew, he became increasingly inundated with pleas for help, not only from all of England, but across the empire. Many of these could be instantly dismissed as being from excitable eccentrics or people of fevered imagination. There was, however, always the odd letter which piqued his curiosity.
Dear, dear, dear.
Anything of interest, Lee?
Yes, Bennett. That affair in Hartley brought rather more unwelcome attention than I'd hoped. This letter was in the usual flurry I receive after such press.
And something in it has caught your eye?
Yes, it does seem a little different to the others. Why don't you take a look?
Yes, I think it's fair to say it's written from the heart.
Read it to me once more. I should like to consider it further.
Dear Mr. Lee, please forgive my writing to you uninvited, but I am at my wit's end. Over recent months, the room at the front of the house has been visited nightly by an all-pervading smell of rotting flesh. This smell is accompanied by the extinguishing of all gas lighting within the room along with the fire in the hearth. These manifestations are accompanied by what I can only describe as an overwhelming sense of evil. Over recent weeks, things have become so bad that my wife and my baby daughter have been forced to stay with family friends. I would be greatly obliged if you could pay me a visit at your nearest convenience. Yours faithfully, Oscar Harris, Crabtree Cottage, Longton, Buckinghamshire. Well, What do you make of it?
There might be 100 different perfectly natural reasons which might be the cause of these effects. However, in this case I think we'd better investigate in person. Write back to him stating that we'll be arriving on the 2 o'clock train from Paddington tomorrow. Ah, here's the name plaque.
Crabtree Cottage.
This must be the place. Shall we see if Mr. Harris is in?
Oh, you must be Mr. Lee.
Allow me to introduce my colleague, Mr. Arthur Bennett.
Please, come in. This door leads to the room in question. Would you care to see it?
No, I think it would be better if we discuss your problem in detail first. Your letter gave only a sketch of your troubles.
Very well. It's like this, Mr. Lee. I am a mining engineer by trade and work for a local firm surveying possible sites for open-cast coal extraction. My family and I have lived in this cottage for several years without any problems. Only over the last couple of months, we have had this dreadful trouble in our front room. My wife Ellen noticed it first, because, try as she might, she couldn't get a fire started in the grate each night.
Wouldn't it light at all?
Only with a lot of effort. And then it would slowly go out in the grate. That's not all. When we light a candle in the room, it goes out as well.
But your letter hinted at deeper difficulties.
Yes. Now there is a ghastly smell in there too. It comes on every night. It's making our daughter, Ruth, quite sick, I'm sure of it.
What form does this sickness take?
She's a bonny girl, and has all the joy that any 3-year-old would typically have. That was, until the last few weeks. She's complained of headaches and bad dreams. I think it's fair to say that we've all felt something is not right.
These dreams, has she spoken about them in detail?
She seems scared that some wicked creature is coming to take her away. It fair breaks my heart to see the state she's in.
I imagine it would.
Ellen has taken her to stay with a close friend until this thing is cleared up. She says that Ruth's sickness all but left as soon as she took her away.
Then your daughter has made a full recovery?
Indeed, she has.
And you have no idea what is behind these phenomena?
No, I do not.
Then why do you think the problem is supernatural in nature?
It's just a feeling, that's all.
I see. Now, Mr. Harris, it would be far easier if you could let Bennett and I have the run of the house for the next few days. There's someone who can put you up.
They let rooms at the railway tavern opposite the station. You can contact me there if you have any news.
Now that he's gone, I think we should examine the room in question, don't you?
I must admit, I'm more than a little intrigued to see what this troublesome room looks like.
I fancy you might be a little disappointed. But still, do you have the key Harris gave us?
Here.
Before I open the door, do you have your silver pentagram over your heart?
It's right here.
Then let us see what is to be found inside the haunted room of Crabtree Cottage.
It appears to be like a typical living room to me.
Yet, the air does have a sickly smell to it.
It rather cuts at the back of the throat, doesn't it? Do you see anything unusual or out of place?
No, not at this stage.
Then how are we to conduct our assessment?
You know my methods by now, Bennett. I try to be as scientific about my investigations as possible.
Then what do you have in mind?
Before we left London, I gave the matter some thought. Firstly, in my bag are several slow-burning candles. If we remove the furniture and place them in a grid-like fashion across the floor, we can track the progress of this noxious force within the room.
Then you mean to stay in this room overnight?
No, that would be far too dangerous. I've arranged for a number of cameras to be sent here. We shall position them in the corners of the room. I've had to conduct experiments like this before, and I've had special timers built which will trigger them at regular intervals throughout the night. This technique was most useful in that case down in Silent Pool I told you about. Now come, we have much work to do if we are to get everything in place before sunset.
That's the last of the cameras set.
Excellent. And the candles are set out and lit? Just in time, too. Dusk is falling, and we should leave.
It feels good to get out of that oppressive atmosphere, doesn't it?
It certainly does. We'd better bolt the door again.
Do you think that lock will keep whatever's in that room safely inside?
It hasn't worked very well so far, has it? I think we'd better employ some other protection, too, don't you?
What do you have in mind?
I shall mark a pentagram on the door. I won't feel comfortable until that's safely done. And this must be the girls' bedroom. I can sleep in here if you like. I'm used to bunking down in strange places by now.
I must admit, I don't feel like sleep much.
Then take a seat on the bed there. I should have something in my bag to lighten the mood a little. Here we are. Care for a tipple, Bennett?
I don't mind if I do.
Good man. I have a couple of glasses in there, too. Here we are. Your health.
Cheers. So this is the room where that poor girl had all those nightmares.
It has often been highlighted that it is young children and animals who feel the effects of abnatural forces long before we adults do.
I suppose their minds are not as bound by skepticism as ours.
Or perhaps they are simply more sensitive.
Can you smell something?
It's like that ghastly smell in the room below. It's getting stronger.
You don't suppose whatever's affecting the house could reach us in here? I mean, you sealed the room, didn't you?
Yes, but I only sealed the door. Do you see? We're directly above the front room here. It must be able to permeate the floor. That's why the girl was affected so.
It's getting hard to breathe.
Let's get out of here.
It won't open.
Quickly, let me mark out a pentagram. Where is that chalk? Damn it. Bennett, stand by me whilst I mark it out. Bennett! Heavens, he's passed out. I only hope a pentagram will offer us enough protection. There. That's the 5-pointed star drawn.
No, get away.
It sounds like he's having a nightmare of his own. I must join the star with a circle to complete the protection. My head is spinning. There, it's done. Oh, thank goodness. The air's clearing already.
No, let me be.
I must get Bennett inside the pentagram too. I just hope I can hold my breath for long enough to get him. Here goes. Come on, Bennett, in this way. I've got you. Made it. Is your head beginning to clear?
I feel dreadful.
You do look a bit green. Try taking a few deep breaths. That's it. Keep them regular. I'm afraid I can't offer you a brandy. I left a bottle in the other side there.
That's all right. I feel much better now.
It won't be the most comfortable night we've ever spent, but we shall be safe enough as long as we remain inside the pentagram.
I don't mind as long as I don't have to see that hideous creature again.
What do you mean?
When I was under, it came to me like in a dream.
Describe it to me.
Its body was like that of a spider, yet its face was almost human. Dear God, I remember its long hairy legs searching me out, trying to touch my face, and its voice.
It spoke to you?
It was awful. I can almost see it now. No, get away.
Where are you?
I said get back.
I can sense you are there. Yes, come closer to me.
No, you mustn't.
Yes, come to me.
No, get back.
You're so near now. I can almost taste your mind.
Dear God, no!
Now I've found you at last.
What manner of being are you?
Let me touch your face. I have something for you. Wait, where have you gone? Why, I can't sense you anymore.
If you hadn't carried me into the pentagram when you did, I don't know what he would have done.
Sounds like I rescued you in the nick of time.
Lee, what was it?
That is what we must find out. Are you still awake?
After what happened, I haven't slept a wink.
Look, it's finally getting light outside.
Do you think it's safe to step outside of the pentagram?
There's only one way to find out. Yes, it's quite safe, Bennett.
That ghastly smell seems to have disappeared, too.
See if we can get the door open. It's not even stuck.
But last night it was shut fast. Do you think that creature somehow prevented us from leaving?
Such questions will have to wait. Right now, I want to examine that living room. The pentagram on the door remains intact. Let us see what lies inside.
All the candles have gone out, and the timer mechanisms for the cameras have been triggered too.
Then you better see if you can get those photographical plates developed straight away.
Good morning, sir. How can I help you?
Do you develop photographic plates?
I have a dark room out back. I could develop them now, if you would like.
That would be most satisfactory, thank you. Have you finished already?
Yes, sir.
Are you all right? You look a little pale.
I'm fine. Thank you. That'll be 15 shillings and 6 pence.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Well, good day to you.
Have you got them?
In this bag.
What do they show?
The first few show the room as we left it. Hello, what's this? Some of the candles have gone out in the middle of the room. More on this one, and in this one they've all been snuffed out. Do you suppose some force emanating from the center of the floor is extinguishing them?
At the very least, I think we have found the source of the noxious gas. Its poisonous effect must extinguish the flames.
Let me have a look at the rest.
If you're sure you're up to it.
Of course I am. A few pictures aren't going to hurt me. Great Scott! I wondered why the chemist looked so pale when he handed them over.
I bet he did. Now tell me, Bennett, is that the creature you saw in your nightmare?
Right down to the hairy legs and hideous leer.
The images show its progress admirably. In the first plate, you can see the legs just beginning to emerge from the floor. And here, the whole body is present. Now it begins to explore the room. See how it probes at the door I sealed? Then it starts to climb the walls. And finally...
What is it?
Its legs appear to pass through the ceiling. I wonder if it was trying to touch our minds in some way.
From what I experienced, I have little doubt about it. But look here, there seems to be a line of a web cast from the spider's abdomen to the floor.
Like a lifeline to the place where it has come from. You see, a gateway has been opened, Bennett, allowing this creature to enter our world. What's more, that entrance is getting wider. If the increasing amount of gas emanating from that foul place is anything to go by...
But what is it?
In my career, I have faced two principal forces. The first is the necromante, or spirits of the dead.
But this creature, it is no simple ghost.
No, it belongs to the astrolotti.
Being
One of the monstrosities from other worldly places. It is no trivial matter to create a gateway to their realm, and I'll wager Harris knows more about this than he is telling.
So, gentlemen, do you have any news?
It is as you feared, Mr. Harris. A gateway for spirits has been opened under your house. I think it is time that you explain the cause to us.
I don't know what you mean.
Come now. From the first, it was clear that the symptoms in this case could have been caused by natural causes, such as the cottage lying on a seam of gas. You, being a mining engineer, must have realized this. Yet you did not send for a geological surveyor. No, you sent for me, a psychical detective.
From the first, I feared this was no ordinary gas leak.
But why?
Recently, I became acquainted with a strange crowd. They conduct research into spiritualism and the like. To be honest, I didn't really take them seriously at first.
You'd better tell us about it.
2 months ago, whilst Ellen and Ruth were away, I agreed for us to try an experiment in the living room at Crabtree Cottage. I thought it would be entertaining.
You ignorant stabbers are the worst kind of spiritualists. The damage you can wreak is incalculable.
Believe me, I see that now.
And the leader of this group of yours, where can they be found?
Her name is Miss Erica Farnham. I can give you her address if you like.
Oh, Mr. Lee, it is such a pleasure to meet you. To think that the Empire's foremost investigator into supernaturalism has come to pay me a visit brings me such a thrill. Do tell, have you heard of our own little dealings with the occult?
Indeed I have, thanks to Mr. Harris.
Oscar has contacted you.
Because it is due to your incompetent meddling that a gateway has been opened for a most malicious spirit.
Really, Mr. Lee, I don't like your tone. Surely we are all fellow adventurers into the unknown.
Mrs. Farnham, exactly what happened at Crabtree Cottage?
We had a kind of party. After some drinks, we gathered round the table in the living room for an experiment. I want you all to place your hands on the table in front of you, with your thumbs touching each other. Firstly, you, Dr. Butterworth.
Like so?
Yes. Then you, Mr. Harris.
There.
And finally, you, Mrs. Jameson. That's it. Now move your hands forward until they touch.
Oh, I say, this is fun.
My dear Mr. Harris, such things are never a laughing matter. Is everybody comfortable? Good. I shall now dim the lights.
Spooky, isn't it?
The atmosphere must be right if we are to engage with those from the spirit world. And now I place the silver goblet bearing the mark of the Ancient Ones onto the center of the table.
What does it have inside it?
Blood, of course.
You don't mean human blood?
Mrs. Farnham drew some from my arm earlier this evening.
My, you are brave. I hate the sight of blood.
I now place a spider cast from the purest silver into the goblet of blood. Now I must have absolute silence whilst I try to communicate with the spirits. O Lord Arachnus, spirit of the outer realm, hear our call. Grant us with your presence that we may learn your secrets. Lord Arachnus, if you are here, give us a sign.
Did you feel that? The table. It moved. Oh, there it is again. It's getting stronger.
Keep your hands on the table.
I can't.
You must, Mr. Harris, you must. Oh dear, I think he's fainted. The shock must have been too much for him.
Come along, Mr. Harris, wake up.
Are you all right?
Yes, I think so.
Let me get you a glass of water.
No, I'll be all right in a moment.
What happened to cause you to faint?
I felt something.
What was it?
I don't know. Something evil.
So, that is how you opened the gateway?
It was a perfectly normal séance.
But you mentioned some specific rites.
Yes, I found them in this book.
This is the sixth appendix to the Grimoire Pseudodomachia Demorum. Where did you get this?
My husband bought it for me from a seller in Cairo. He is most supportive of my research.
This explains much. And your husband, how much did he pay for this?
I don't know. As I said, it was a present.
I will send you a check for £50 to reimburse you. If this is not enough, write to me.
But you can't. It's my book.
No, Mrs. Farnham. You have shown by your actions that you cannot be trusted with this volume. I strongly suggest that you take up a different hobby. I hear needlework is popular nowadays. Now that we know what we are dealing with, we can set to work, Bennett. I shall mark a pentagram on the floor. If we are lucky, this will be enough to close the gateway.
And if we are unfortunate?
Then we must try to trap the creature in this room once more. Here's some chalk. Can you mark out a pentagram on the door?
Yes, of course.
Good. Dusk is falling already. We haven't much time.
Lee, you still haven't told me exactly what we're up against.
The Grimoire Pseudodomachia Demorum was published in Paris in 1563. It lists spirits that can be contacted through exacting certain rituals. Appendix 6 gives details of how to open gateways for outer world monstrosities from what its author called the fourth cycle. These are principally malevolent spirits, which, in the past, people have foolishly believed they can control for their own purposes.
Then you know which entity we are dealing with.
There is a rather gruesome tale from the 17th century about him.
Oh?
The last recorded man to evoke Arachnus into this world was an Egyptian scholar, Ahmed el-Zayed. According to the records left by a servant, when Arachnus appeared, Ahmed el-Zayed unsuccessfully tried to make him do his bidding.
What happened?
They had a fight, which ended in Arachnus biting his head off.
How charming.
And foolish. When Arachnus killed his evoker, he severed the link with the fourth circle, and his power disappeared.
This link, what form does it take?
The line of web from Arachnus to the gateway. That is his lifeline.
The pentagram on the door is complete.
Good. I just need to complete the circle around this one.
What's that smell?
Coming from the floor. The gateway must be opening. Quickly, pass me my bag.
Here.
Where are they? Aha! Here, hold these herbs over your face. They should counteract the noxious fumes.
That's better already.
Now, to finish that pentagram.
Lee, you're too late. Look!
Get back, Bennett!
What is your name, human?
My name is Jerrem Lee.
Then, jerrem Lee, your soul will be the first I feed on.
You may kill me, Arachnus, but you will never leave this room. The pentagram on the door will see to that.
Then you must do my bidding and release me from this prison. Remove the pentagram.
Never!
Then you shall die.
And break your link to your foul place of origin as you did when you last visited this realm.
Then it was you who opened the gateway?
On this occasion, yes.
Then it is your friend I shall kill if you do not remove the pentagram.
Lee, he's got me.
Now remove the pentagram, or I shall take his soul.
No, don't do it, Lee. You mustn't free him.
Don't worry, Bennett. There is more than one way to break your link with the fourth circle.
What do you mean?
By finishing this pentagram over the gateway. Like so!
Jerrem Lee, you'll pay for this. Maybe not in this world, but in the next. I will be waiting for you, Jerrem Lee, waiting for your soul. And when I have it, you will know unimaginable.
He shrunk to the size of a harmless household spider.
Catch him with your handkerchief, Bennett. I should like to study him under my microscope when we return to London. Is everything packed up?
Yes, and I've arranged for the cameras to be collected at noon.
Then we can journey back to...
Is it safe to come in?
It sounds like Mr. Harris.
Let him in, Bennett.
The smell. It's disappeared. Does this mean the house is as it was before?
Yes, we have managed to remove the cause of the problem.
I don't know how to thank you.
My fee of £50 will be adequate, thank you.
£50? Why, that's a rather large sum.
It only covers the expenses we've incurred on this case.
Then you shall have your money. Just so long as our home is safe again, that's the important thing.
And if you're invited to experiment with the occult again, Mr. Harris.
You need have no fear on that account. I've learnt my lesson, Mr. Lee. For once and for all.
You have been listening to Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter, and tonight's episode, The Terror of Crabtree Cottage, starring Jerry Robbins as Jerrem Lee and David Alley as Arthur Bennett. Featured were Joe Caliendo Jr. as Oscar Harris, Ronnie Marshak as Mrs. Erica Farnham, Diane Capon as Miss Ellen Harris, and Lucian E.G. Spellman as Arachnus and Dr. Butterworth. Jerrem Lee Ghost Hunter was created and written by Gareth Tilley and produced by MJ Cogburn. The executive producer was Mark Vanderberg, and the program was directed by Jerry Robbins with music by Jeffrey Gage. Additional music by Kevin MacLeod. For the Colonial Radio Theatre on the Air, this is David Alt speaking.
This is the end of disc number 1. Please continue listening on disc number 2.